In the previous lesson, we saw how we can work with images and what's the difference between the smart objects, the linked image, and the rasterized layer. So we're continuing with the really basics of Photoshop. And in this video, we're going to see more basic things, but they're really, really important. So I'm just going to go and create a new file. And this time I'm going to go from here instead of from the home page. So I'm just going to create a new file. In the previous lesson, we used an A4, which is kind of a standard sheet of paper that you find anywhere. And so we went here in the print section of the new document. We can use a lot of presets here and templates as well. But instead of going to the templates, let's start again from something simple and basic. And this time I want to go all the other way here in the film and video. So let's go into the digital world instead of the printing world. So we're going to work with pixels mainly instead of millimeters or centimeters. And I'm going to use this standard. I think this is the most common format for a screen, which is the HD TV or Full HD, which is 1920 times 1080 pixels. And it's 72 pixel per inch resolution and 8-bit color depth. And it's going to have a white background, but I can change this. I can make this transparent, or I can make this black depending on your preferences, or you can just select a custom color. I'm just going to go for black. And I'm going to leave everything else as it is. So let's create. And now we are in this new type of document. Now, since this is a screen, and again, this is kind of the most popular screen out there, it's used also like in smartphones and tablets and all sorts of TV screens, desktop screen, laptop screen. This is the most common format. But we also have more. So if we go to new, you also have like here, if you go down, you also have 4K, 8K, 2K, and so on. There you are. So these are like the latest, most advanced formats that are in the market. So usually Photoshop stays updated with all these new formats that are coming out in the market. But I'm gonna use this Full HD because it's again pretty popular, pretty common. Now we can see again in the properties panel on the right, we can see the Canva right now. It's a screen, it's not like a paper. And also I've already activated here some of the things that I want to show you in this video, which are the guides. So you can turn on and off the guides from here. And also you have the possibility to use the smart guides, which by default they are already activated, so you can turn them on and off from here. And I also activated the rulers, so here you can turn off the rulers, turn on and off. And so let's talk about this. And first of all, I didn't put these guides that you see here in cyan color, azure color. Now these were already there. I just changed them slightly. But when you create a document for the screen like this, it's gonna put these limits. These are margins, and these are used to insert, for example, text and the main part of your, in this case, video, but could be also your image. So basically, when you insert something, if you want to make sure that that's going to be visible in every device, it's supposed to be in this safe area right here. And if you place text, they should be also inside this area. And these are also the safe action margins. So if you like shooting a video, you want to make sure that the action goes on in this central part of the stage. You don't want to consider this part. So these are kind of extras. And why? Because the devices, all the devices in the world, they have same dimensions, same proportions, but they are not exactly displaying the things in the same way. So one of those devices could cut off part of the image. So by working in this safe zone, you're sure that whatever you want to display is going to be visible to everyone with any device. And this is again something that it's already preset in the format when you choose to create a new document with the Full HD preset. Now, again, we can go here and turn off and on the rulers. We can hide and show the guides. We can lock these guides right here, and we can work more precisely. So I'm not going to talk about these Canva properties right now. I'm going to focus on this, and also I don't want to use the quick actions. Now, what I want to do is bring in some images. Instead of importing just one image, in this video, I want to import multiple images. Now, the best way to do this is just go directly into the Windows folder or Mac folder and just select the images from here. So in this case, I can do multiple selection. So I want to get like this image here and this image here. And these are all like 4K, I think, or more. So they're pretty big, but I'm going to show you what's going to happen when I bring them in. So let's say I want to use this and also this other one. Okay, so I have these 4 images. Click and drag directly inside the space. So this is the quickest way when you want to bring in like multiple images all at once. And this is the first one. So you can see it's taking the full height, but I want to make this smaller. So as we already saw previously, we can click and drag and we can reduce the size. Now, since I have unconstrained the proportions, so let me go back, Control Z, and I want to constrain proportion again, because when I want to scale these, I want to keep the proportion. I don't want to stretch, I don't want to squash or like skew or whatever. I just want to have the original image but proportions but smaller. And let's say I want these like to 10% of the actual size of the original size. So since this is going to be a smart object, it will retain the information of the original, so I can always scale it back as we already explained before. So I'm just going to go OK. And now you see we have the second one. Now, if I want to make the second one exactly like the first one, well, I can try to type directly 10% again. And you see that they kind of match, but to be exactly sure, I can just click and drag and make them overlap. There you go. So if they perfectly overlap, it means that they are the same exact measure. I can also use the sensible or smart guys, which are in the pink, to make things perfectly match. So you have a series of a way you can do this. I can also unconstrain again, and I can click on these corners and I can just put the corner to be matching to the corner of the image underneath like this and say okay. So if I want to make them all the same size, I can unconstrain and then like click and drag the corners here, make them snap, make them use the smart guides and make them snap. Now again, you want to make sure that the smart guides are on that panel. So I'm just going to go quick here and finish with the other images. Now, since this is black and also the image in the background is black, it's a little bit more difficult to spot the snap, but this is why we use snap to be more precise. So let's go back here, click outside. So when you click outside, if you don't select anything, it's going to deselect. So you can see the document and the Canva and the rulers and grids and the guide. So you can see this one, it's on the smart guides. So if you turn that off, you won't be able to snap to the other objects anymore. So make sure that if you want to use it and want to work more precisely, you want to have that turned on. There you go. So you see the pink guides right there. So I have the 4 images, just they are overlapping. So I'm just going to click and drag around this. Now you see that when I use the smart guide, I can also align them. So if I move this around, I can see the alignment. So the top alignment, the bottom alignment, and the center alignment. If I bring it here, I can see the left alignment, the right alignment, and again, the center alignment. And I can make them perfectly, one next to the other like this. And I think I'm gonna change background color because I don't really distinguish the image from the background color. So you see here we have the background. I can also turn off the background actually momentarily. So just temporarily, I will take this off so I can see better. So if I move around here, I will be always able to snap using the smart guides, but I can also use these guides that I already have. So you can see I can also snap to these standard guides. So let me turn off. So turn off the smart guides right here. If I click and drag, you can see now we are snapping to the other guides. So whether you're using these fixed guides or the smart guides, it's always a good practice to work with those because it's working more precisely. Now, to select multiple images or multiple elements in your scene, you either go here in the layers and hold the shift key to select from to, or you can use the control key to jump select. So you can also deselect by pressing again, holding control. You can also do it from here, but instead here, you need to hold the shift key. And you can see when I select both, it's going to create this boundary here, this rectangle. Now, this is actually a option that you need to activate up here. So right now we are in the move tool, which is the standard tool. It's used to move objects, to select objects or layers, and so on. Now you want to make sure this is on, so you can see the transform controls for the group. So I can treat these two either as, you see, as a single entity if I select them both, or just if I deselect, so press here, click outside and select one, I can just work with one. So if I hold shift and click, I can continue to select. So I'm gonna select this, this, and this, all the 4 images. Now you may notice that up here, these buttons have turned on as soon as I selected more than one image, like this. There you go. Because these are buttons for distribution and alignment. You can also click on these 3 dots to see them a little bit better. So alignment and distribution, align and distribute. And then you have distribute spacing, and then you have align to, also pretty important. But we're gonna come back to this in just a minute. Now you can work with layer or group. So the group is this like big box which embeds everything. The layers are like the single entity of the layers. So when you align, for example, let's say I want to align here to the vertical centers, it's going to take into consideration the vertical centers of the images. It's going to do like an average. If I instead use the group, it's going to take the group into consideration. So if I want to go back, Control Z, group, and let's group like, you see this is the top margin, and this is the bottom margin, and this is going to be like the middle of the group. So if I say, okay, align in the middle, well, it's going to be there in the middle of the group. Now, if I click again and drag this, yeah, I can be now inside those guides like this, but I also stretched. So be careful not to stretch too much. Let me just go back. I don't want to stretch. So Control Z, and let me just go back, Control Z, and Control Z. So these are the actual size. So you have alignment. You can align to the top. Let me just, again, go back a little bit more. So you can align to the top. You can align to the bottom. Align the centers. Align to the right and to the left. And we can also distribute. So probably the best thing here is first to align in the vertical centers. And then before I distribute, I actually want to bring this inside the safe margins. So I just want to select that image. So I'm going to click outside, select that layer, that image, and click that and bring it right there. So it's going to be snapped to this margin guide. And then I want to select again all and click on distribute, in this case, horizontally. There you go. Now they are equally spaced and everything is nice and organized and aligned for my layout. So when you're using guides, essentially, you are defining a layout. And these are like 4 columns. You can also work with columns if you want. You can be even more precise with your layout. So right now we're just using these safe margins and that's it. Now again, if you click here, you have other options that you may want to try. But the most important one here that I want to show you is the Align to feature. So right now we're using the selection, which means that whatever I select here, and this is the boundary of my selection, is going to be taken into consideration for whatever we need to do. Now, if I change this to the Canva, instead of considering the selection, it's going to consider the entire Canva, which is now in black. So if I select these 4 again and say, okay, I want to use like the alignment. Well, let me just scramble them again so we can see this better. Okay, so if I select this and say, okay, now I want to bring them to the top. You can see it's bringing them to the top, not of the group or the layer, but to the Canva. And here it's going to bring it to the bottom. And also if I distribute horizontally here, well, if I just expand a little bit more, it's going to take the Canva into consideration, not the group. That's the difference. Now I just want to go back, and because I like this way they are distributed. So be careful whether you're aligned to Canva selection, whether you're using group layer, and that's it. This is alignment and distribution. One more thing I want to show you is the auto select feature, which is usually turned on by default. So this is giving the possibility to click on an element in the stage and to directly select it. Now, if I turn this off, if I'm here and I try to click outside, you see it's always staying there. So probably this is a handy feature, but sometimes you may want to turn that off if you want to stay on one single object that you selected here directly in the layers. So also layers again can be used to select. And also again with the move tool, if we click and drag, we can also do a rectangle selection using going from right to left, dragging and holding the left mouse from right to left and to left to right. Everything that will be intersected by this rectangle will be selected. So this is another way you can select, a quick way you can select directly here in the stage. Then we have other types of selection, but we're going to talk about this later on. I want to focus this lesson on the guides and all these other elements of the interface that you can turn on and off. Now, if you want rulers, you can turn them on and off from here. You can also use the grid, and you can also check the transparency and gamut settings if you click here. So you can change the way you want to display your transparency, but I don't want to do this. And I don't want to also see the grid at the moment. I want to focus on the guides and the rulers. Now, when you have the rulers turned on, you can also click and drag new guides from here. Click and drag. Now, I've also changed the visualization here of the guides with the dashed line instead of the continuous line because I like it more, but you can always switch also from here. So you can create new guides. You can also delete by clicking well, now they are locked, so I need to unlock them. So to delete them, I can click and drag them back to the ruler. So really easy to create and delete guides. Now, if you click on this corner of the rulers, it's going to change the origin. So right now the origin is right here where it's supposed to. We already talked about this. This is x0 epsilon 0. So if I go right, it's going to increase the x, value. If I go down, it's going to increase the epsilon value. So epsilon positive is down, x positive is right, and then we have the negative going left and up. But if I click this, I can like place it here in the middle, and you can see now that 0 is right here in the middle. So you can change that if you want. To bring it back into position, just need to click and drag again with the left mouse, and you really want to snap now there in the corner. So make sure you're snapping there in the corner to place it back into position. Now we also can go to the view menu. View menu is really important to change the visualization of some elements. So if we go down, also we can zoom in, zoom out, do some navigation in here. And then if we go here, we go to show, we can show and hide, again, the grid, the guides, the canvas guide, the smart guides, the slices, which are other type of things that we're gonna see later. So let's again activate the smart guides. So you can do these things from here now, but you can also do it from view as it was like in the old days. Now, if I go down, you can also activate and deactivate the snap, which is the one that we'll be using to work more precisely. And also you can decide whether you want to snap to everything or none. So right now I turned off the snap, so I cannot use these guides anymore. I only can use, the snaps if I turn them on. So let's go back. The window, view, guides, and snap to, and let's do guides, layers, document bounds. Let's do all because I think everything it's useful. Again, go back to view, and I want to show you also this. This is where you can again lock the guides, delete all the guides, clear guides. You can also create new guide from here. Now, if you create a new guide from here, it's going to be more precise because I can say, okay, it's going to be a vertical guide and the position will be like 1000 pixels in the X because it's vertical. So I can also change the color and let's make it a red light. Okay, and there you go. Now it's 1000 X value here vertically. Click and drag to delete again. Let's go back to view, back to guides, and I can also do a new guide layout. So if I want to use columns, let me make this like another color. Okay, so you can see here that you can use other guides. You can increase, decrease the number of columns. So let's say I want to use like 4, like my images, and then I can define a specific width for my columns. So let's make like this 400. And also the gutter, I can change the gutter. So let's make these like 40. Okay. So I can customize here all the columns. You can also customize the rows if you want. And you see here that we have a lot of guides now. And then you have other features like center columns, clear existing guides. We can also, well, let's like increase also the number here in the row. You can also save your own. So if I want to save this, I can save this as a preset. It's going to be a file with GDS extension. So let's call this GBD guides 2. Okay, so I can always recall this by going here, or I can go back to some defaults like 8 column, 16 column, 24, or go back to mine and continue. You also have margins again if you want. What I want to do now is just cancel because I want to go back to the standard here. And another thing we can do is, again, from view guides, we can just create a guide from the shape. So you can see I selected an image, it created 4 guides around that shape there. And then we can also go to edit, go all the way down, preferences, and you have preferences here for units and rulers, and for guides, grids, and slices. So here you can change like the colors of each single element here, that helping element or snap or guide or grid or whatever. So we can customize everything from here. You can also change here the units and rulers, but you can also do it just by, sorry, just go back. If I click outside here and go to the document, you can change here centimeters, percentage, millimeters, pixels. Now, since we're working here in the digital world, probably is better pixels. Now, this lesson will end up here, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe to the channel to stay updated, and if you want to support us, join the channel as a supporter. Thanks for watching, and go check our other video courses and video guides in the channel. See you in the next lesson.